Hi again, everybody. Bill Phillips here on this Tuesday. We have a special guest today, a topic that really, if we could avoid talking about, because it would mean that it didn't happen, but it did happen. And it's something that the country, quite frankly, is discussing on both sides of the aisle, in the kitchen, across the dinner table. The assassination attempt on former President Trump, now the nominee for the Republican presidential nomination. He is the nominee. And we have Addison Albert, who joins us now from News 9 Sunrise. Get to sit here for many hours in the morning.
I was going to say, we typically laugh together and we joke together. And so I wish I was on the Bill Phillip with a lighter topic, but
well, we can do that another time.
Yeah, we can do that another time.
But we decided that today on this day, and I want to get to some comments before we get started. We're going to talk. Addison's going to join us, and we've got Tracy checking in. Good morning. Good morning. Hunter checking in. Good morning. All right. Hans, hi, Bill. What did you have for dinner last night? What did I have for dinner last night? Oh, I had some.
If I had to guess, it would be burgers. Bill has burgers a lot.
We had a nice steak on Sunday.
Oh.
And then Marla said, well, how about some pizza? And I went, yeah, okay.
Okay. Pizza's good too.
We'll do a little pizza and with some boneless chicken wings.
Of course.
Hey, Addison from Hans.
Hey.
Ralph,
Bill hasn't made over here. He has thoughts. You have comments. This is the first time I'm seeing all this. He has a theme song.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? But what we are talking about today
let's get to it.
Is the assassination attempt on former President Trump, the nominee for the Republican ticket. And he came out and announced, this is big news, especially in Ohio. For JD Vance, he decided to nominate him or ask him to run with him as vice president. So a lot going on there. But you spent your weekend right there, right behind us up in Butler, PA. When you got the call about going up to cover this, what was your initial reaction?
So for those of you who don't know, I'm from Butler County. I lived past tense in Butler, and I was eating dinner with my parents, and because it was happening so close, it was on the TV and it was everywhere, and I saw it live when it happened, and my instant gut reaction was, oh my gosh, who do I know there? Because it is such a small community. You immediately go to, is everyone safe? Is everyone okay? Just like if there was a tornado that goes through your town, who is there? Yeah. And so I put it out on social media to see if, so people could know. Obviously, that's our job, is to alert people. But my initial gut reaction was, oh my gosh, who is there?
And what now? Okay, now you we're trying to get into the mind of a reporter here just a little bit. So, the initial hit, the initial thought. Now it's like, I got a phone call. Hey, you're going.
Yes.
What are you doing as you're going to the scene to try and get ready to cover that?
So I was with family, and I asked them, what questions do you have? Because as a reporter, you try and get to the mind of a viewer. What do you want to know when you turn on your television and you hear that there's an attempted assassination on a former president? What are the questions that you're asking? Was anybody else hit? Is anybody dead? Is anybody injured? Is everyone still there? Have they left? Who did it? Who is at fault? Was security there? So all of those questions were running through my mind. And again, I immediately reached out to my roots, which were the people who were there, who could tell me immediately, so that we would have footage. And I put it out on social media as fast as I could. So as a reporter, I'm actually thinking, as my parents, as someone who live in Butler County, what questions do you want answered? And I think the very first thing we answered was, again, 2 adult males were injured. 1 adult male by the name of Corey Comparator was unfortunately killed in the shooting. President Trump, where was he? At Butler Memorial Hospital, which I know very, very well. And it was completely locked down. What roads were opened? Evans City Road was closed. Meridian Road was open, if anyone's familiar with those areas. So that was my mindset.
Okay. Now, how difficult was it to get to your locations that you ended up going to? Because a lot of those scenes go immediately into lockdown, and no one's getting in, no one's getting out.
Yeah.
How were you able to maneuver around those places?
That is actually shocking. I've been to situations that were actually harder to get to than this one.
Mhm.
And maybe that plays into the security risk that was at this location. I was right there immediately. The only road that was closed was the road that went right past the immediate entrance. But if you see on this map, I'll say it into the microphone, then I'll go point to it. The actual grounds of where everyone was in the middle of a few yards away from actual road. So the place that they were investigating was on lockdown, was away from a lot of the road. So you could still get through some of them, and I'll point them out to you. So Bill, if you could say this,
Okay.
like, the road was closed. If you could
Yeah.
say this, and like from here
Road was closed from here.
to here,
Yeah.
but we were set up right here, which is still
Okay.
just
It's
down
very
the
close,
road.
yeah.
We could. You can still get around all of this. It was just here to here that was closed.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I want to make sure Sherry and Karen get a good morning. Good morning. They always here, always in here with the
Oh,
Phill-Up.
that's nice.
Ron checking in. Looking back, you must feel like part of American history took place right in front of you. What do you say to that, Addison? That's from Ron.
Ron, that is exactly what my brother said when I got the phone call, because I wasn't supposed to work. I was only supposed to be in on Monday, but I ended up working on Saturday and Sunday for this. And my brother looked at me and I said, "Do I go?" And he said, "This is American history. You have to go." He was like, "This is history in the making. You have to go." And especially when there is a story being told out of your hometown and you feel so connected to it, you don't want anyone to touch that story except for you. Because I just wanted the information to come out to be able to go to my loved ones, my family and friends who were seeking some type of answer to this situation.
Well, let's stick with this because I brought this up yesterday. And I even said before the show, usually don't get into the political stuff. We just steer away from that.
Yeah.
But this is a different animal. This affects everybody. Doesn't matter what party, what you believe in or anything. Just violence is
it affects the country as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question is, how in the world you have a convention or a rally right here, and this is 148 yards away, and people are, they've got snipers up over here. We saw them in the news coverage on the roof here. I'm still trying to figure out how this doesn't get shut down.
You and the rest of the world are trying to figure this out.
Now, I haven't had situations with presidential rally or anything like that, but when I was at PXI Channel 11. General Hayden, who was the head of the CIA, came in to do an interview. And I ended up doing the interview. We did it. Part of the story was about his relationship with the Rooneys. The other part was him taking over as the CIA director.
Wow.
So I ended up doing the interview. I tried to give it to the news people. They're like, no. And I said, well, I'll ask all the questions about the news and everything.
Yeah.
No problem. And it got used quite a bit. But one of the things that I did, the head of the General Hayden security for the CIA came to the Steelers complex. It was probably 2 or 3 days before we did the interview, and we're just going to do it in the Steelers library, which is an enclosed room. I was in every room in the Steelers complex, rooms I didn't even know about, rooms I had never even seen, doors I had never seen. And this was just for me to do an interview with General Hayden. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And at the same time, I'm doing the interview. And at one point before I started, I thought, don't make any false moves. There's 5 guys in here with guns that would just,
they're going to get to you.
Done. So I think about that. I'm just one guy in an enclosed space.
Yep.
And that's the only that I just what are you hearing from people?
Yeah.
What are they telling you? What's the excuse?
Yeah. So we even had it this morning. People are calling for an investigation. It's happening. No need for more calls. It is being investigated to its fullest extent. Every political figure who has the power to say investigate this has said it. It is being investigated. But what you said, the perimeter that the officials deemed, got this from a press conference from the officials from the FBI themselves, a secured area. That building, 148 yards away from where the rally was happening, was not deemed in the secured area. But look at that land. That is Butler County. It is rural. It's flat.
My thing is this is just me, and I'm not a security
You're good.
expert at all.
Neither am I.
But I'm going all the way out to that road, and wherever that road turns here,
Meridian,
again,
yeah.
and then what that whole road around that entire perimeter plus what's over on this side. Someone's got to check. I mean, how much would it have cost? How much would it have cost somebody? I'm assuming CIA and Secret Service people are salary. I'm assuming to just put someone on the roof, have someone sit there on the roof.
Absolutely.
And put someone back on that building, this. I mean, I don't get it.
And I'll give you one better. That building was the staging area for a lot of the officers involved. That was their staging area. So they
had been in that building.
They had been in that building. And some other misinformation that's coming out. If you could point at the two barns that are below, okay.
These two,
yes, the two white with the white roofs.
Okay, this one and this one.
Yep, the one farthest away, closest to you. That is actually where the sniper that shot and killed the shooter. That is where the bullet came from, not the one even closest to the roof. So yes, that is the roof. Yes, that is just some other information.
I don't, because you watch some of the movies about some of the sharpshooters or documentaries about some of the SEAL team members. Hey, I'm 2 miles away. That's 140 yards. It's
140 yards. And I will also say that officers and officials were notified of a suspicious activity. I said it on the news yesterday, and they said it out loud in their own press conference. And again, it aired on News 9. There were multiple reports of suspicious activity. And they said they were short-staffed and they were checking out, quote, all of the suspicious activities, to which a reporter replied, well, what were the other suspicious activities? And they said that would come out in a later report. But this was a 20-year-old boy on top of a roof in plain sight, 148 yards with an AR-15 from the former president of the United States.
Yeah, it's safe to say, I think some people are going to lose some jobs. All right, Karen, I think she has a great question as she chimes in. Weren't you scared to go?
Karen, that is a good question.
Yeah.
I got a lot of messages, be safe, be safe, be safe. I was not scared because I knew that officials were heightened even more after this situation. And I'm from Butler. I mean, even this individual, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, was from Bethel Park. I know that there could have been other individuals there, but there's something about going home and needing to get that information that I wasn't scared. I think that, and no one in the rally was scared, actually. I mean, that's a big statement. A lot of the folks I spoke to said that they were just sad and they were in shock. If you see past video, go online, people were just walking out of the rally. It also is deemed a mass shooting at this point. People walked out. They weren't running. They weren't screaming. It was complete shock and sadness, again, because you know that you were going to know the person who unfortunately got shot that day. And I did. He grew up down the street from my mom. And he moved away whenever he was in elementary school. He moved away from my mom's street. But I remember having to tell her the next day, because I had the information and I told her who it was. And I mean, she broke into tears, knowing his sister, knowing his parents. So I wasn't scared just because I knew that security had been heightened. And again, it was my home. So I was familiar with all roads and avenues. And I mean, anything could happen anywhere in the world. Yeah. So
what did you learn before we go to some other stuff? What did you learn about dealing with, I guess, officials and, in that capacity and in that situation where it's very fluid, but it's very, super, super serious. It's not I covered Super Bowls and, people got way too serious about covering that in terms of people getting upset and anxious about things.
Yeah.
This is the president or former president. And just what's that like dealing with officials that you had to deal with?
Yeah. Well, they don't want to say anything wrong.
Yeah.
So you are going to have to be patient because they're not going to tell you information immediately. They're going to wait and make sure that everything is absolutely official. Whenever scannings and tests come back. But I will say that when dealing with law enforcement there, everyone was so kind.
Hmm.
I think that they knew that loved ones at home were scared and they needed information. And so, I mean, our news car, we pulled off on the side of the road with our reflector vests on, and law enforcement made sure that people weren't anywhere near us as we were doing our reports. I've never been met with that much patience and kindness from the law enforcement that were there. And I think that they knew something went wrong.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a hard question, but
Yeah.
in the press conference, they were not answering any questions until they had official confirmation on anything.
Okay. Well, I do have official confirmation on this. Valley Converting, sponsor for the 9-Minute Phill-Up. Can't thank them enough for being a part of it. And, you were looking for information. They weren't
Yeah.
going to give you information. We're going to give you some information on Valley Converting.
Every piece of paper has a story. What if that story didn't end when you were done with it?
At Valley Converting, we turn your old paper products into recycled paperboard, continuing the story.
Locally owned and operated in Toronto, Ohio, bringing your paper to Valley Converting isn't just about recycling.
It's about supporting a cleaner, greener future for all of us.
We are here 5 days a week to help you make some green by going green.
And remember,
Recycle for your future.
Well, there you go.
You have a commercial
There
too.
you go. We've got a commercial, and let's see. Let's go back to the comments. See if
Yeah.
anybody else had any comments or questions. If you have any questions, Shooter Ron, I don't know exactly what this is. Shooter's past commercial for Black Rock Connection has an eerie feeling to it. I don't know exactly what that is, so I won't comment on that. Addison, I don't know if you know what that is. If you do, have at it.
I'm not sure exactly about that connection, but I will give some background on the fact that he did try out for his high school's rifle team, and he did not make the team. That is all I have. He was wearing a shirt that had a rifle on it, but he has no social media and did not make any of his fellow classmates aware of any interest in guns at all in school after speaking with his classmates.
Oh, but let's stay there for a moment. You had the opportunity to go to his home where he lives. I don't know if he lives with his parents or does not.
He
live
does.
with his parents. So that's got to be just a rough situation because the parents are probably thinking, "What in the world?
Yeah.
Our world just turned upside down, and everybody's outside our door." What was that situation like? Because I know you did have an opportunity to speak to a couple of classmates of his.
Well, I'll first start with his father, who actually called police a few minutes before or after, around the time of the shooting. He called police saying that his rifle was gone, and so was his son. So that is information that just came out as well. It was hostile near his home. Obviously, neighbors who unfortunately just lived down the street, their yards are being crowded by people from all over the world. People were speaking Spanish, Polish next to me. I mean, this is a former president of the United States being the powerhouse that it is. So it's big news. His classmates, what they had to say was very interesting. Again, they all said that they would have never thought this would happen, that he was weirder, that he was bullied a little bit, but not. Unfortunately, there were people bullied worse. Bullying is bullying. I mean, it's bad all around. But the one girl I spoke to, Summer Barkley, said that every time she asked him a question in class, that he was responsive, he was nice. The history teacher loved him. He had a big passion for history and government, but was never hostile towards one party or the other. He just really liked school. He won math and science awards. So everyone was again in shock and sadness, and couldn't believe it.
And to turn the tables or 180 with the victim, and one of the things that you mentioned yesterday, I'm gonna get a little upset.
It's okay. It's okay.
$1 million.
Yeah. And that's one of them. So a GoFundMe page was started. Actually, my family friend. So I was trying to get information. Of course, the family is being very, very being very, very exclusive at this time. They don't want to talk to anybody. So understandable. It is so understandable not to want to speak to anybody. It's a very sensitive time. But a family friend by the name of Jason Bubb actually came out with a GoFundMe because he didn't know what else to do. He took Addison, Corey's daughter, to a dance when they were not elementary school, I'm sorry, high schoolers. And I actually sang at Jason Bubb's wedding. So he is like family to me.
Yeah.
And when he said they had a goal of $7,000 that was shattered in under 5 hours to $500,000. And then today, as we sit, it is $1.1 million going to this family. But they would so much rather have their father than have $1.1 million at this point.
As we kind of, we could sit here all day. And
I know,
this.
yeah.
But if some of the things that you want to, if you had a few things to focus on that you wanted to let everybody know about what you learned being there, what would they be?
There's two sides. There's two sides, of course. There's your hard news side, and then there's the fact that all I want to talk about is the victim in this situation, because we hear so much and see so much of the shooter, but the people that are hurting right now are the people whose father just went to support a political figure of his choice. And so I will say that the most recent news that came out was that ammunition was bought hours before the 20-year-old Thomas Crooks decided to aim fire at the rally, and that was at Allegheny Arms and Guns Works. Now, again, he's 20 years old, so there's some laws involved, but they came out with a statement that we'll share on News 9 Midday if you stay with us there. Over 100 FBI have interviewed, over 100 people at this point around his neighborhood, just his neighborhood. So that is some big news. And then focusing again on the victim, Corey Comparator, he was a volunteer fire chief. He was also a father of 2, very active. The gym, actually, I know that you love your gym. And where you go. And Jason is the gym owner who started the GoFundMe. So, of course, that's the relationship he had with that family. And Corey himself is that his daughter went there, and Corey loved to work out. He loved to go fishing. And he was just a really great guy in the community. And he actually dove on his daughter, who was at the rally with him, to save her. So not only was this an act that was completely random that it hit him, but he also dove in order to save his family. His wife was there as well. Whenever he was at the rally, that was very scattered. It's a very heavy situation. But
we'll go back to one of the earlier questions. What's it like to be there at the doorstep of history, so to speak? And now that you've been through it, and there's more to come in terms of covering the story, but a few days after, as the Republican National Convention moves on, as everybody looks to move on, and where do you take your brain and go, okay, I got to separate this from my everyday?
I really did. I got home and I made cookies last night because I had to separate myself, and I just got chills up and down my body, because I think that I realized how important our job was and how many people look to us to make sure that our information is factual and quick. And that is now the most important quality of our jobs that we have. And I take it so seriously, because for the first time ever, I was reporting in my hometown where my family and friends were counting on me. And now, continuing forward, I want to be able to shoot down misinformation and make sure that the family is taken care of, and that misinformation about their father isn't spread. And one day, maybe I'll be able to tell my kids that I was there, and they'll open up their history books and see that photo that is on everybody's screen, and they'll be able to say, hey, Mom was there. Mom, tell us more about it. And I'll be more than willing to share, because in order for things like this to be recognized, be investigated, to be stopped, you need to continue to share the story. So although we sound repetitive and sometimes it gets annoying to see all of this online, we are just trying to make sure that nothing happens. We're trying to make sure that something happens in order for this not to happen again.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where you have to learn from history. So I sit there and I look at that building, and then I immediately, and I wasn't live for this, but I go right to JFK's shooting
Me too.
in Dallas because I've been to that location, and you look at the book depository, and it's right on top of the parade route. The fact that everyone says it was amazing that he got off 3 shots, but you're right on top of him. I can't imagine. Hey, put the convertible top down and drive through town. We're right, and then nobody gets that that building covered. So
And we didn't learn.
no,
We didn't learn.
no.
Here
And
we are.
And there's and everybody
A
has
bunch
their
of-
conspiracy theories and everything like that. But in terms of the facts that we actually know, that's what we have to go on. That's what we have to report. And like you said, you have to make sure that it's quick,
It's
that
factual.
it's right, and that's the biggest thing. I'd rather be, second and correct than
Be first and wrong.
and completely wrong.
You taught me that.
Yeah,
You taught me that. Yeah.
You want it, whether it's in sports, whether it's in politics,
Mhm.
no matter what it is, you want it to be right. And if I get it right 2 minutes after the other person gets it wrong, well, it works out a little bit better. So
Absolutely. You were the one who taught me that. And I have it in the back of my head. So you saw some mentoring happen here today too.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, so any final thoughts? Final thoughts. Let's wrap this up on the 9-minute Phill-Up that's going on 30 minutes.
It's worth it. It's worth it. I don't think I have any final thoughts except for just make sure you stay with us. And if you have questions that you think would benefit others, just make sure you get them to me. I'm not the all-knower of everything, but I'm going to do my best to be able to bring you information that, again, like Bill mentioned, is factual and it's quick. So if you have any questions, reach out.
All right. Well, everybody, can't thank you enough for coming on with us, making some comments and some questions. Can't thank you enough every day for being here with the 9-minute Phill-Up. We greatly appreciate it.
Oh, wait, I have to
Okay.
shout out. This photo came from my best friend's younger brother who is studying to be a pilot. And this was his flight in the air. And so he decided to fly over it to take a picture for me. And so it was, he,
Wait, do we have a name?
oh, sorry. His name is Zachary Schwab. And he sent it to me and he was like,
This is a picture from my best friend in
Addison.
the 3rd grade who now flies a plane.
I did meet her in the 3rd grade, but he was like, I just wanted to be able to help you. So he did. He helped and he helped you too. So now
That's
this is our photo. This is our photo.
And that's a great photo in terms of really shows you how close
Oh,
it is.
look at all the
It's-
aftermath. Yeah.
And that's going to be like that for a while as they sift through evidence
Mhm.
and go through that. So
Pilot Zachary Schwab.
Zachary, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. And Addison, we greatly appreciate your coverage over the weekend. It was
Thank you.
phenomenal. And we look forward to more coverage. And again, can't thank everybody enough for reaching out, making comments, for being here every day with a 9-minute Phill-Up. And can't thank Valley Converting enough for being our sponsor. I think that's it. I think we're done.
This is a
We're done.
great space for everybody,
Yeah,
Bill.
so let's see if we can hit this and we're gonna go off. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, remember, as always, 2 rules: have fun and always try your best. All right, here we go. We'll see you, everybody. I think if I can hit that, there we go. And